Set design is a whole nother level when it comes to interior design. The interiors on these movie or TV production sets often drive the entire plot line, keying you into the characters and their personalities. Are they quirky or cool? Is this a period piece or set in modern times? How do set designers make these spaces look lived in while practically never being used? Today, we take a deep dive into television's most iconic set designs and interior spaces, and what you can take away when it comes to finding and refining your own interior design style. Watch this video to get my top interior design tips and learn how to look for key design details that you love to ultimately adopt into your own space. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring a portion of this video. Now we're gonna dive into our first set for today. It is the iconic show Friends, set in 1990s New York. And today we'll be featuring Monica and Rachel's apartment. Monica and Rachel's apartment in Friends is an iconic example of eclectic 1990s interior design. The space is vibrant and cozy. It features a mix of vintage and contemporary elements. The apartment's signature purple walls and mismatched furniture create a warm, lived-in feel, while quirky decor items like the antique French poster and the eclectic gallery wall add personality and charm. The open floor plan and large windows allow for ample natural light, enhancing the inviting atmosphere. This eclectic yet cohesive design perfectly reflects the dynamic and friendly personalities of its inhabitants, making it a beloved set piece in television history. This living room is a prime example of granny chic style, grand millennial style, and I'm totally here for it. The eclectic hand-me-downs, the mismatched furniture, all of the vibrant color on the walls. I love this style because it's especially indicative of my own personal style, especially when I was in my early 30s. Isn't it funny how you can remember like entire plot lines from your favorite shows? But if I asked you to name like a signature furniture piece in the show, on the set design, you probably can't even remember. Well, let's look at this living room together, and I'm pretty sure that everyone can recognize this super plush sofa and matching club chair in Rachel and Monica's living room. You know me, I hate matchy-matchy, but I could tell that this was a hand-me-down set. It almost looks like something that was handed down from your grandma's house or even mom and dad. And I'm not hating it at all. I actually love this sofa and club chair because it just looks so comfortable. What I would do is break up the set so that you could have a little bit more personality in the space, which is exactly what they did with this kind of lounge chair that's in the far off corner. Now, this is very indicative of eclectic design. It's all a mishmash of furniture. Nothing really coordinates, nothing really goes together. But when you look at the living room as a whole, it feels cohesive because it's all over the place. That is still a very definitive design style. Eclectic can be a design style if it's intentional. If you intended on thrifting all of these key pieces to fill your living room with, now that is a design style all on its own. Can you really define grand millennial style? It's really about a combination of old and new. You have this really beautiful vintage French poster that's right behind the television. Right underneath it, you have this Art Deco console. So already, these are two very distinct and disparate styles that are mixed into this grand millennial design. The furnishings are actually pretty neutral, so I feel like that lavender or that purple really pops and makes sense in this space, especially if you're someone who loves color. You know that you want to change it out often. Wall paint is the easiest way for you to do that. You'll already have all of your key furniture pieces in place. Now all you have to do is change up the wall color and it's a totally different vibe. You'll remember that it's open to the kitchen as well. They have an eat-in dining area, and they also have a little seating group that's kind of far off right in front of the window that leads out to the patio. I love the use of demarcating different zones with the help of area rugs. They've plopped in a really huge area rug underfoot in the living room conversation area. You've also got a smaller little area rug that's kind of far off in that lounge space. If you have an open concept space and it already feels a little cluttered, you don't have a lot of free movement to walk around from room to room. Remember that you don't have to have area rugs in every single zone. Check out the dining area. There is no area rug underfoot for this round table. Can you imagine if you put a square or rectangular area rug underneath a round table? It would almost feel disjointed and it doesn't follow the shape of the room. So if you wanted to plop in an area rug underneath the round dining table, I would mimic the shape of the table, especially in an open concept space. You could go for a larger, rounder area rug or do away with the area rug completely and just leave it bare as they have it in this living room. I love the explosion of color in this space. I love the mix of patterns. You've got this kind of floral landscape pattern on the curtains. You have cute little chintzy patterns on the table lamps and the tapestry and textiles. You also have all of this color on the walls. Would you ever think that purple could go with green, could go with blue, blue and orange. I mean, it's a lot of color. But again, this is a set design. The set needs to translate well on screen so that you, as a viewer, can understand the entirety of its inhabitants. And it almost makes you feel like the entire set design is another character for you to get to know. What do you think of this Friends set? Is a grand millennial style something that you can see in your own space? Remember that set design is so different than interior residential design. One is all about the wow factor, explosive colors, appealing to a wide audience. The other is so personal and it's all about you, which makes it so difficult to get just right. That part about finding your style or refining your style, I mean, that can get very paralyzing to a lot of us, which is why most of us don't even get started with interior design. When I'm in a creative rut, I love using Skillshare to kickstart some ideas. Even though I've been designing interiors for almost 20 years, it doesn't mean that I don't continue my education and look to other creatives in the industry for different angles and expertise, which is how I landed on my friend Emily Henderson's course, Style Your Space, Creative Tips and Techniques for Interior Design. You might not know this, but Emily and I were on HGTV's Design Star together way back when. In our first white box challenge, we were both up for the cut together, and I got kicked out first and she went on to win the whole dang thing. I'm so proud of her. I love her. We still keep in touch today. Emily's background is actually in set design, which is why I was so happy to find her on Skillshare. I love how she always starts her projects with a style diagnostic and quizzes you to help you find your style. She shows a collection of images. You pick the pieces that you gravitate towards first. She goes on to explain that defining your style with keywords will help you make smarter decisions down the line, especially when it comes to choosing furniture and accessories with those same characteristics in mind, which I totally agree. Confidence comes from knowing how to communicate your style, often with descriptive words that you might not be familiar with otherwise. Of course, this is not a one-size-fits-all solution to finding your interior design style, but it's a very practical start. If you love these starter courses and want to dive deeper into a certain skill, you can check out Skillshare's Learning Paths. Skillshare's Learning Paths are curated sequential course collections to master a specific skill or competency. You can start with a beginner course, level up to intermediate skills, and by week's end become a master of DIYing your own room decor or whatever you've been dying to get into. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of courses led by industry experts across design, film, freelance, productivity, and so much more. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, and passions to the next level. With the kids out of school and slower work schedules, you might find yourself with some free time on your hands this summer. I want to learn more about filmmaking to add a cinematic quality to my channel. What hobbies do you want to explore with Skillshare? Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring a portion of today's video. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive 1 free month's trial of Skillshare. Get on your creative journey today. Moving on to New Girl, which is set in 2010 in LA. The loft in New Girl is an excellent example of a modern industrial living space with a playful, quirky atmosphere. Situated in a repurposed factory building, the loft features high ceilings, exposed brick walls, and large windows that flood the space with beautiful natural light. The open floor plan and raw unfinished elements like exposed ductwork and beams give the loft an edgy urban feel. This industrial backdrop is softened by an eclectic mix of colorful vintage and contemporary furniture and decor that reflects the diverse personalities of its inhabitants. From mismatched sofas and quirky art pieces to DIY elements and personal memorabilia, the loft is both stylish and homey, creating a unique and welcoming environment that perfectly complements the show's vibrant and humorous tone. Now here's a really quick disclaimer. I've never seen New Girl. The team actually wanted me to dissect this interior because they love the show. And upon first glance, I look at this room and it's almost like an IKEA catalog, right? It looks like there's a lot of really nice furniture pieces in here. A lot of Scandi design in an industrial type loft, so I get it. Clearly you have the exposed brick walls, you've got that open beam ceiling, you have a lot of natural light, you have these industrial fixtures that are kind of punctuated by metallic accents. The industrial style loves metals. You have a mix of matte black metal in here, you have some chrome on the lighting, you even have chrome on the legs of the sectional. You always want to key into specific design details as innocuous as metal finishes, especially when you're trying to go after a certain design style. I mean, that was me just dissecting the living space alone. Now, if we're moving over to the dining area, you have this really beautiful wood top dining table with industrial legs. I mean, the legs just look like pipe fittings, right? You can buy some of these elements at your local hardware store and kind of just piecemeal them together, which almost looks like what they did here. There's mismatched chairs at the dining table. For me personally, I don't like that look. It almost feels like a bunch of college students kind of came together in a space space and they pulled all of their own furniture from their own respective previous homes. Is that what New Girl is about? Like a bunch of different characters? Okay, so I'm right on the money here. It seems like that's what the show is about. It almost even looks like this is a set that could be what Friends would look like in modern times. But do you kind of see the IKEA vibe here? You look at the kitchen, it's all shaker cabinets, it's like a medium grain wood, it's very builder grade. This is very builder grade basic to me. We have the open shelving that's on the kitchen. It's a very DIY type of aspect. This looks like something that I would move into. It's not my own personal style, but I love the space. I love the industrial design. I love open concept. And we can do away with like the barn doors, but I get it. It's an industrial loft. Some of these things you won't be able to change, especially if you're a renter. I think the thing that I love best about this particular set is that very timeless. I can't tell you exactly when this show took place, which is what I love about this particular set design. There are so many pieces in this set design that I could use for my own space. I love the sheer panels on the windows. It gives you that soft, gauzy, filtered daylight coming through, especially if you have like a really fantastic view outside. It's always about the view. I love how they used a mix of different types of bookshelves to help define the space. I love having this open type of cubby bookshelf that is on one side of the sectional. It's a really great idea to use furniture to not only define particular styles, you can add storage, you add organization. It gives you a place to kind of compile all of your books, magazines, and like loose paperwork. You also have these open, tall bookcases that line the perimeter walls. You always want to take full advantage of the vertical height in your spaces so you can maximize storage and organization capabilities. Especially if you're in a smaller space. Clearly this is open concept, it's huge, it's expansive, but this is why I love employing movable furniture. You'll be able to move all these bookcases in different areas of the home. You can create privacy, you can demarcate zones, you can even use it as a makeshift bar or a pantry as they did in their kitchen. Have you seen New Girl? Do you love it? What do you think of this set design? Is this something that looks like your own space or something that you aspire to? The next set design that we'll be discussing today is from Gossip Girl, which is set in early 2000 New York. This is the Y2K era and style at its finest. Serena van der Woodson's living room in Gossip Girl is a stunning blend of elegance and comfort, characterized by its sophisticated neutral palette and luxurious textures. The space features plush, oversized sofas adorned with silk and velvet throw pillows, which creates a cozy yet opulent seating area. The room's expansive windows flood the space with natural light, highlighting the sleek marble fireplace and contemporary art pieces that adorn the walls. A grand chandelier hangs from the ceiling, adding a touch of classic glamour, while modern coffee tables and accent pieces bring a contemporary edge. This living room design was actually my desktop wallpaper while I was in design school for I can't tell you how long. I'll tell you exactly why I love this space and why it's still so memorable for me today. I really love how sophisticated this entire space feel. There's a lot of neutral furnishings punctuated by really bold graphic colors and artwork. While I was in design school, I really understood space planning. I had an affinity for human factors. I really love to understand how people use a space and why we choose particular furnishings or even color, the psychology behind certain selections to drive the interior design of the space. This set design is a really classic example of mixing modern and glamorous finishes into a really contemporary space. Even though the space is very modern, there's a lot of really glamorous touches here. You'll notice from all the lighting, we have shaded table lamps. I mean, the base of the table lamps are these glossy enamel finishes. Anytime you have reflective finishes in the space, it instantly screams glam. When you mix in all of the reflective finishes with like a darker, richer wood, especially like this dark espresso wood that you see on the console table, you see it in the dining room, you see it all over the living room, all of a sudden it just feels elevated. It feels so sophisticated. I actually have a really great video on the channel now all about decorating with black, how black accents can instantly modernize a space, making it feel edgy, really unique, and glamorous. I really love this warm neutral that's on the walls. It's almost like a buttery vanilla. In the wrong space, this can definitely read very, very yellow, but when you have a light-filled space, don't be afraid afraid of going warmer with the pigments and the tones in your paint colors. It's really going to help it feel more lived in and less sterile than just plain white walls. You'll also notice that against this neutral palette and the modern black accents that you're almost hit in the face with a pop of color. Red is the predominant accent color in this space, and that's all about the wow factor. I mean, this is set design. I always remember the red that was in this living room. That is very characteristic of her style, right? It's bold, it's brash, it's glamorous, it's very in your face and unapologetic, which is what I love from this living room. What do you think of Serena van der Woodsen's glamorous living room? Is this more up your alley? Moving on to our last set design today. It's from the new reboot Mr. and Mrs. Smith, set in New York City in modern day times. The New York City brownstone in Mr. and Mrs. Smith epitomizes sleek modern elegance blended with classic charm. This stylish home features a sophisticated color palette of neutrals and deep tones, complemented by luxurious materials such as rich woods, polished metals, and plush fabrics. The design features an open concept with high ceilings, large windows, and contemporary furnishings that emphasize both comfort and functionality. Decorative elements like modern art pieces and statement lighting add a touch of personality and refinement to this space. This brownstone's design not only reflects the urban lifestyle of its inhabitants, but also serves as a striking visual backdrop for the show's blend of action and drama. This living room design is very mid-century inspired. I mean, I feel like it could also be plucked out of Mad Men. So it's very timeless as classic with a lot of modern elements. I love how this red sectional almost acts as a neutral in the space, especially when you have a really bold and geometric patterned area rug underfoot. All of the colors that I pulled from the sofa to the window treatments really vibe with this area rug. So I could tell that the set designers actually chose the area rug first before they pulled in all of the other colors together, which is a really great starting point, especially when you're stuck on a color palette. I love how they really preserved historical references. If you notice the fireplace in this brownstone, this is a very typical design. You have a little bit of tile that's surrounding the fireplace opening. You can always switch up that tile depending on the style that you like. When you move into the dining room, here is that mid-century style that's further defined with these really classic updated wishbone chairs. There's also a little bit of an eclectic style going on in here too, because you've got this like tribal vintage rug underneath. You have a really beautiful dining table. It's very modern and streamlined, rectangular, angular, and then you have all of these curved finishes that are supporting this rectangular piece. I love this design because it just feels so homey, so lived in. I love all the colors. This is a great use of primary colors in interior design. Red on its own would be really bold. Blue on its own is also like a really bold statement. But when you pair these two together and then you see almost like tints and tones of the same shade in the space, it feels like it's such a cohesive design. Moving into the kitchen, you can tell that this is definitely current. You've got Zalige tile that's lining the entire backsplash. I love Zalige tile. It's handmade Moroccan tiles that are kind of fired at a very, very high temperature. You can glaze the surface of it with any single color. Because all of these tiles are handmade, there's imperfections on the edges, there's cracks and chips, but when you put them together and install them on a backsplash, the light hits it and it never looks the same no matter what angle you're at, which is why I love Zalige. You could pair it with really simple modern cabinets as they did in this space. You can pair it with like shaker style, you can pair it with really glamorous traditional paneled drawer fronts, and it will really make the kitchen come alive. I love the versatility of this tile. You can mix it in with so many different design styles and it will still feel really fresh and far from trendy. Have you seen the reboot of Mr. and Mrs. Smith? What do you think of this interior design? Is this something that you would like in your own space? It's quiz time! Now, if you're feeling really inspired by all of these set designs and you want to find your own style, let's do this next exercise together. Take out a pen and a piece of paper and jot this down, or it could be really as simple as just pulling out your smartphone and writing down your answers. We'll be dissecting different furniture pieces, different home decor items to see what speaks to you the most. Starting with these accent chairs. Which accent chair do you like the most? A, B, C, or D? Now without thinking, just tell me which one you like most. Now write this down. Do you have your pick? Okay, now let's move on to the next. What about these area rugs? Do you like A, B, C, or D? I want you to clue in to not just the color or the style, but also look at the patterns. Are any of these a hard no? Sometimes knowing what we don't like will key us into the things that we really truly love. Moving on to lighting. What do you think of these table lamps and light fixtures? Which one do you gravitate towards the most? A, B, C, or D? Okay, what about these coffee tables? Don't obsess too much over the shape. I want you to think about the style, the color, the finish. Which of these finishes can you imagine in your own space? What about in your own living room with your existing sofas or sectionals? Now, what about these art pieces? Art is so personal. Sometimes it's all about a mood, sometimes it's about a vibe, sometimes it's about a color. For me, I'm not someone that likes a lot of wording on my art pieces, but when it's like a vintage poster, I'm totally on board. If you chose mostly A, your style is like new girl. You love modern, clean lines with a hand-me-down feel. You know what you like, you don't take too many risks. You want classic furniture pieces that can grow with you from move to move. If you chose mostly Bs, your style is like the brownstone in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You love sleek, modern elegance with classic charm. You have an affinity for mid-century furniture, punctuated by graphic patterns and bold color. If you chose mostly Cs, you have a style that mimics the set on Friends, and you are a girl after my own heart. You love a grand millennial style, you love hand-me-down furniture, you're not afraid of DIYs, mixing prints, bold color, and you're not afraid to let your freak flag fly high. If you answer mostly Ds, your style is like Gossip Girl. You love sophisticated elegance, luxury, and modern glam. You enjoy the finer things in life and would rather save up for the real thing than waste money on a cheaper dupe. That's it for today's video, everyone. I hope you got some really great ideas on finding your style, what we can learn from TV sets both in movies and on television, from the eclectic mix in Monica's apartment in Friends to the luxurious and elegant style of the Vanderwoodstons' living room. Each room tells a story. I ultimately chose these set designs because they are a mix of styles, which is really indicative of how we live nowadays. Sometimes we like to change things up, kind of mix things around, incorporate modern furnishings with old hand-me-downs. It's all about telling your story of who you are, where you've been, and where you ultimately hope to go. If you love this type of content, please give this video a like and a thumbs up. Comment below and let me know which was your favorite set from today's roundup. Share this video with anyone you know who loves interior design as much as we do, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that little notification bell to get notified of new videos that we drop on the channel every single Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.